And welcome back to Metropole Sports Center. My name is Nashon Owano. As I had promised you in the first part of the show, we are going to be talking matters, sports and mentorship. And my guest today in studio is Dexter Otieno, who's the chairman of Young United Football Clubs. And we're going to be talking about what the organization is about and some of the inroads that they are making in terms of promoting talent in the area of Dandora and its environs. Dexter, thank you so much for finding time to come on Metropole Sports Center. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Nashon. I'm grateful to be here today.
Maybe for somebody who's hearing about Young United Football Club, maybe you can talk to us about what it is basically about and just an overview of what the club is about.
Young United Football Club basically is a football club, the way the name depicts, and it started way back in 2013, and the major and most important aspect was to make sure that we're righting the wrongs in football. So those were based on the kind of stuff that I, as a footballer, had experienced and I felt like needed to change throughout that journey, my journey in football. So I thought to myself that there's no better way to do it than do it yourself. So that brought about the idea to have a football club that is professionally run, and that is exactly what we are doing in Dandora at the moment.
Okay. Yes. I grew up in Dandora, or I spent the better part of my life in Dandora. It's not an easy thing convincing parents that now you have a football club to come and be part of. Talk to us about the kind of support that the parents or guardians have offered to Young United Football Club within the area of Dandora, Phase 1.
Okay, first and foremost, our major task was to go into houses and just to create that rapport with the parents and just to encourage them that we are here not only for football, but we are here to bring about the all-round aspect of the community. So that really helped in terms of the parents trusting us with their kids. And it has always grown year by year because we have proper engagements with the parents, and we've made deliberate steps towards making sure that the parents are at the center of decision-making processes in the club. So that has brought about that most important cohesion that we've had with the parents, and we want to continue doing that with them. And more than that, we have opportunities for their boys, not only on the field of play, but we make sure that some of these boys go ahead to get scholarships in schools, especially the secondary level. We've done some primary level as well. So that brings about that cohesion between the parents and the football club in general.
Okay. Dexter, talk to us about the association that you have between the parents of the children at Young United Football Club and the organization. Talk to us about that.
Okay, for us, the structure of the football club needed a parents' organization. We call it Young United Parents Association. And this association is basically to make sure that parents are walking the tightrope together with the management of the football club. It really helps because the football clubs needs to do things, and the major person in this whole scenario is the parent, because the child belongs to the parent. So to avoid that back and forth, it is important for the parent to understand what the football club is doing, and the football club to understand what the parent wants. So that informed the decision for us to have an association, which I'm very happy that has kick-started, and we just had an election last Sunday, and the mandate of the committee is going to start in the 1st of July. And that commemorates where the football club is going moving forward. So it was very vital for us, and we've seen that happen even in the future. Like I'll tell you, we are just here to right the wrongs. Wherever I was playing, my parent always had a problem with me going to the field, simply because there was that disconnection between maybe my football club and the parent, because at no point in my playing career or life did a coach come to the house to express their interest in me playing in their football club. And that lack of communication has always been a problem. And I know that there's a lot of community clubs that are experiencing the same in the level of management. So for us, we've made it very deliberate to that the structure of the football club accommodates the Young United Parents Association member in the structure.
I remember when I was growing up, the biggest challenge that I had is when I used to play for Maisa, you know, or when I used to go and play. The perception then was I need to focus. My parents were like, you need to focus on your studies. But I think it's a reality that most young people have, that our parents still believe that books is the only way that we can find a way out of our current situation. Based on your interaction with parents, do you think that perception has changed within time, or it is still there?
That perception is a good perception to begin with, because I always tell everybody that I interact with, especially my players, that football is not for people who are dunderheads, like we always told. Football is for the wise. Football is for those people who, well, actually football itself, even when you're playing it, you really need to be somebody who's really good at doing calculations and all that, and that does not occur to just anybody. You need to be clever enough, and you cannot separate football and education. You just need to find a proper balance. What we've been able to tell our parents more and more is that what would happen here is that we need to focus on football as a career as well. Just like a doctor, just like a pilot, just like any other career, those careers that we've grown up knowing. We need to focus on that. So as much as we are balancing, because we need to balance, as much as we're balancing, we need to give football priority as a career and as a job as well. So it's based on how you interact with the parents again, just to try to explain to them that this footballer that we are grooming today is equally as important as a lawyer in a law firm, is equally as important as a surgeon in a hospital somewhere. Yes.
Yeah, but the reality, Dexter, is in our country we are yet to come to the point where sports is looked upon as a business venture. We still look at sports as a by the way, you know. Yeah. Like if you go to a place and introduce yourself as a football player, they'll be like, so yes, you're a football player, and what else do you do on the side? But the reality is, how do we as stakeholders in the sporting world ensure that we create an environment where sports can be looked at as an equal employment opportunity, where you can go into it full time and say, this is where my source of income comes, and this is where I can get money, and this is where I can create a sustainable income for myself?
To answer that, Nation, most importantly is the ball is on our court. First and foremost, we need to create that environment. First of all, we need to create that product. Sports need to be that product that can employ, that product that can push. So as an administrator like I am today, the first and most important thing is to make sure that Young United Football Club is structured in such a way that it is viewed as a company, just like Safaricom, as a company, just like any other that is producing goods or is providing services and all that. So after I've done that, because I will not go and blame the government. They have their own faults, because one of the things is that it's never viewed, just like you said, sports has not been viewed as an economic contributor. But first, in our very own setups, what steps are we taking to make sure that this product itself is something that can be able to employ? This product itself is something that can be viewed as a professional like from a professional outlook. So the ball is on our court first. Let us make sure that these institutions that we run, these institutions that we have, are professional institutions. And then now we can collectively push for this agenda. For example, the reason why sports is not viewed in that regard as a business or economic contributor is that the government itself, like when it comes to giving the CS for sports or whatever, what they do is just a by the way. Anybody who, for political reasons, just needs to be rewarded is taken to the sports ministry. That is not supposed to be the way things are supposed to be done. We are supposed to lobby as people in sports to say that no, we want a sports CS who really understand what sports is. Because when I sit with somebody who understands me and understands things from my level, then this particular person is able to relate. But when I sit with somebody who's in tech, perhaps, he cannot relate about sports. So if I want something from him or her, then it becomes really difficult. I would say, for example, not to demean, but we've had a problem with a return to sports in this country from the COVID situation. And I will say that it's simply because, for one reason or the other, we have federations that are pushing to make sure that there's a return to sports. I will speak in the realms of football. I've seen my football federation, the Football Kenya Federation, push. But then again, I am pretty sure that there are barriers simply because the people that you're pushing in the sports ministry to be able to speak on your behalf, these are people that do not understand your predicament. They do not understand what is going on. They don't understand that sports is employing people or football is employing people. They don't understand that the league is ongoing and there are repercussions for the league not being completed and all that. But if there was somebody who really understands what this is all about, then this person will take this burden from their own end. So it's a matter of, first, let us begin with us, and then let us come together, and then let us lobby for the right people in the ministry.
Okay. We're talking with you, Ophea, about some of the steps that you're taking to ensure that Young United Football Club is sort of looked at as an equal employment provider. Talk to us about some of the steps that you're taking towards that, because before Young United Football Club was a community-based organization, but now you are taking it a notch higher and you're making it professional, a football club. Talk to us about how far you are with that and some of the steps that you're taking to take it there.
From 2013 up to now, we've been a community-based organization. That has been our organization. And we asked ourselves a couple of questions. How attainable are our goals and objectives as a community-based organization? And the greatest subject was sustainability, because you need to be able to sustain yourself, but you cannot do business as a community-based organization. And we asked ourselves, if we really need to grow, then it means that we need to come out of this community perspective shell. And that means that we need to go into another space. And this other space was just to make sure that we have a broader mandate, a broader perspective of ourselves. And this is taking us into now being a fully fledged business, which we are going to become from next year. So we are taking the baby steps right now. There are a couple of things that we are doing currently just to make sure that that we're going to be in the best place by then. We want to set up an office. Of course, it is something that we are really working on at the moment. And that is one of the baby steps towards that. We are speaking with people, with investors, to come in and invest into this prospective business, so that when the registration is done, then we could just go straight into the business side of football, because now we want to focus on making sure that we are a player production and development center. And apart from that, for sustainability purposes, we need to be a business. We need to make sure that that just like any other business, there is monies going around, coming in, going out, and that means that in the future we will have to employ. We would have to bring professionals into the football club. We will have to sell players. We would have probably, and this is something that we've been doing in a small scale, and we want to go big scale on our merchandising department and make sure that our products, especially the jerseys and all other aspects merchandise, are out there, because now we would have more responsibilities, not just like we were as a community-based organization, but now as a business.
Yes. Okay. Dexter, we're going to pause it there. Just wanted to give you guys some of the ice hockey sports facts. We're going to be continuing the conversation with Dexter in terms of how vibrant is their club and what is the age gap from when they're taking individuals to be part of the academy. Now, the following are some of the ice hockey sports facts that you need to understand. The first NHL goal ever recorded was on December 19th, 1917. The goal came from Davy Ritchie of the Montreal Wanderers in a game against the Toronto Arenas. Now, Manon Rehum, goaltender, was the first and only female hockey player to lace up her skates in the NHL. Now, the first $1 million contract was signed by Bobby Orr in 1971. The Boston Bruins signed him to a 5-year deal worth $200,000 per year. The hockey puck has a diameter of 3 inches, weighs 6 ounces, and they are frozen before each game to keep the pucks from bouncing on the ice and out of play. Now, the first player to ever post more than 100 points in an NHL season was Phil Esposito. That is from the Boston Bruins back in 1969. In 74 games, he had 49 goals and 77 assists, recording 126 points. Now, the tallest player in the NHL is defenseman Zdeno Chara. Chara was drafted by the New York Islanders in 1996. He currently plays for the Boston Bruins, winning a Stanley Cup with them in 2011. And then finally, the average North American hockey rink is about 200 feet long and 85 feet wide, and regulation hockey nets are 6 feet wide and 4 feet tall. Now, those are just some of the things that you need to understand about the ice hockey. I promised you today was going to be a mashup of all the things that you need to know about sports. First of all, we're talking about the Basketball Africa League. We're talking matters mentorship in football. And now we are talking about matters ice hockey. We are taking a short commercial break, but after the break, I'm going to be telling you, just breaking down how much people are getting or how much the National Hockey League. And also, apart from that, I'm going to be continuing the conversation with Dexter Otieno, who's the chairman of the Young United Football Club, in terms of some of the future goals that they have and how far they are to getting there. See you after the break.